Female athletics has been full of women who have an intersex condition, like androgen insensitivity syndrome, which has produced higher levels of testosterone. So many of the gold medalists throughout history will have had a condition like Semenya, and she has been raised as a woman, and she has competed and trained and given her life so far. I think it's one thing to change the rules prospectively, but not to ruin the lives of athletes who are already in competition.
Well, how would you then, or what would you then say to those athletes, those female athletes who do not benefit as far as the games are concerned from that heightened, that raised level of testosterone? They're never going to stand a chance against people with what's called disordered sexual development, are they?
Well, they will certainly be at some disadvantage. I think this has also been overblown. We're not sure exactly how sensitive, say, Caster Semenya's receptors are to testosterone. So, for an example, in the disorder I mentioned before, androgen insensitivity syndrome, the body can be completely insensitive or partially insensitive. And the only measure they have of how much testosterone is having an effect is by looking at the individual's body, which is really an unscientific way of evaluating the advantage. So I think it's really impossible to say how much advantage she actually has. And so it's quite unfair to punish her, to disable her by forcing her to reduce her testosterone. When you really don't know for certain how much, or even if it's having an effect, as I said, as the disorder becomes more complete, it really has no effect, even though they have sky-high testosterone levels.
There's certainly a problem that in terms of trying to implement a top and upper limit of nanomoles per litre of testosterone, it's quite difficult to work out where that might be. What do you think will happen if Caster Semenya does win this arbitration case today? Do you think the IAAF might suggest, in that case, an open classification? So you'd have male, female, and then a sort of open classification?
No, I don't think that will happen. So I think what will happen is that you will then have transgender individuals who identify as being a woman who were born as a man wanting to compete in female competition. And the case there is different to Caster Semenya's because they did have many years of effective testosterone, and unlike Caster Semenya, who was born with this condition and raised by other people in this condition, there is some element of choice in their situation. And we'll have to make a decision about whether transgender athletes compete in female competitions, even if they have lowered testosterone levels. Again, it will be very difficult to tell what advantage they've accrued. So I think what you're seeing is a crisis of definition. In some of these intersex cases, the individual is genetically a male, they have testes, but the testosterone doesn't work. So they have no uterus, they have no ovaries, they have a blind-ending vagina and often a large clitoris. And they've traditionally been raised as women. But now those individuals may have some advantage in sporting competitions. In my view, we have to make a decision. Are we going to disadvantage these people who we've judged to be women by stopping them competing in sport? Or are we going to change our definition of what is a man and what is a woman?